Next question. Somebody asked, I saw this, I think today actually they posted it, wondering about what would be the recommended decibel level for a wedding dance floor. And Ben Stowe actually answered this one in one of the shows that we did. So we'll go to that. But first, the question I really wanted to put to you guys is that even a concern? Do you guys sit there and think, well, man, I don't know if I have enough decibels for this dance floor? Is that something that comes to your mind at any point in time when you're getting ready to perform, when you perform, any of that? Dan, I'm going to have you start this one.
Having enough or having too much?
Having what it should be, it really is a question, but does that come to your mind? When you're thinking in that lines, what does come to mind when it comes to sound that way?
So not numbers, but just am I going to have enough sound with what I have for the number of people I have or the venue that I have? Things of that nature. So that is something that comes into mind, right? So I have my Evolve 50s. I use them 95% of my weddings. But there's a couple venues that they're real high ceilings. It's a really big room. And I want the sound to throw. There's a couple times where I'm working with a real young couple and they've talked about really wanting that club feel. And yes, these can hit, but not like my 18s. So that's when I have those types of situations, I concern myself more with that and volume than I do with necessarily the actual numbers. And again, also to the idea, right? So the great thing about the Evolves is a wide spread. If I don't have a real wide room and I have a real long room, I'm going to want something that throws. So those are the thoughts that go into my mind more than a venue and decibel levels, because I don't run into not enough as a venue requirement. A venue issue I usually have it's too much, if that was their rule or something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Kevin, when it comes to sound, what are your thoughts as far as how are you thinking about that? Are you thinking?
Yeah. I don't want to beat a dead horse. It's exactly everything Dan said. When I talked about numbers with the bride and groom, do I need is it a longer room? Stuff like that, the venue type things. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but everything, literally what Dan just said.
And I think there's the part of you guys went there. Thank you. That's exactly where I was hoping you guys would go. Is you could have 110 decibels, which is the number that Ben Stowe said that on a dance floor, if he's dancing with his wife, he would like to have the decibels between 104 and 110 max. Any more than that is going to be painful for him. Now, because of the room, as both of the guys just mentioned, it's going to vary. Some speakers are going to be able to attain that very easily in a specific type of room, where that same set of speakers in a different type of room would be next to impossible to attain that type of a sound pressure. That would be room filling or dance floor filling. And obviously location of speakers compared to... I think the idea that I need to have a certain decibel is really... misguided, I think I could even go as far as to say. As someone who's spent a lot of time doing testing and checking decibel meters out on different speakers, there are times where the speakers, and I'm testing it, it's like 110 decibels. And it's like, well, that's not really that loud technically, but yet it's to the point of it being uncomfortable to listen to. And I would not want to be in that loud of a volume for a whole night. It's just not comfortable. It's not even comfortable for the tests that I do. I think those types of things make it so that we're looking at the numbers and not really looking at the art of how can we fill a space with sound and do it properly. Hence, I can fill spaces with my two Evolves in those two E-verse 8s. I can fill a lot of spaces and have a lot of flexibility to be able to give a nice coverage of both microphones and kind of background music and then the dance with those four. And there's times where I could be in a room with higher end speakers that are doing different things, and they four high end speakers that couldn't do what those could do. So it's just learning how to use your sound system and use it to the variety of different spaces that you do effectively, I think is a big part of it. Okay, let's jump to one more question here before we wrap up.